By the way, last night there was a meeting at a local church, our church actually, where we live in West Toronto in the High Park area, and there was a speech about the pro-life issue. We didn't attend, but as it was 5 minutes away, myself, my wife, a couple of the children, we just drove past to look at the protesters because they're the fun bit. It's like the freak show. I've got to tell you, I mean, I've seen some of this before, but just the anger and both the literal and metaphorical ugliness of the people who were present, and there's so much pain. They're screaming and swearing and shouting and gibberish, and they had these pictures of enormous vaginas, very badly drawn, and various posters, none of them in any way grammatically correct, and darling, no apostrophe, and they had this 15-foot coat hanger they'd made. And it was really it's like a British comedy movie, because at the end, they all got together and put the coat hanger back on their little car, and they drove off. It was all, anyway, more of that probably on Monday. Now, the down market bacchanalia of the Gay Pride Parade in Canada's largest city. It's coming this weekend, isn't it? Whoopee! Now, first, the basic issue of truth. Sorry, but truth is a good thing. The media constantly claim that at least 1 million people attend the Toronto event, which would indicate enormous approval of and support for homosexuality. The million myth has been given again and again until it's become really, I suppose, a self-evident truth. The problem is, it's almost impossible to accept. Okay, bit of boring stuff here. The average person takes up 2 square feet of space, probably more for me, meaning that the parade would have to extend for at least 20 kilometres. Now that, if only both sides of the street were packed solid, otherwise, more than that. In fact, there's always plenty of space between the onlookers, and the event takes perhaps, 2 kilometres at most. So there might be 250,000 people present, probably less than that. Now, anyone who has seen a photograph of a 1 million-strong crowd, really a 1 million-strong crowd, knows that such a massive humanity could never fit into the core of a city like Toronto. It's also entirely relevant and wonderfully fitting that those assemblies that actually do attract 1 million people are invariably religious, orthodox and conservative. The Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca, World Youth Day, Catholic Church with the Pope, evangelical rallies in Asia and Africa. It's part of the fraudulent politics around this issue that if the leadership of the gay community make a statement, well, it's automatically believed. For the longest time, for example, it was fact that 10% of people were gay. Well, we now know that the number is between 2 and 4%. But hey, we all make mistakes, don't we? The police have a sophisticated grid system that indicates the size of a crowd. Odd, then, that they say nothing when we hear of the magic million. Just as odd, actually, as their failure to arrest people over the years, and it'll happen again, by the way, who take off their clothes during the Pride March and they perform, well, all sorts of antics. There's ample photographic evidence of nudity and of officers standing by, grinning, doing nothing. Now, for a community that claims only to want equality, which is fair enough, one wonders why the law does not apply to all when it is broken. Which brings us to the question of whether it is abusive to take a small child to a parade where a significant minority of people are naked, simulate sexual activity, bump and grind and whip each other for some bizarre form of titillation. There have been and will be many parents who take their little children to the Gay Pride Parade. Yet if, for example, a parent sat a 5 or 6-year-old down in front of a TV and showed a DVD of people pretending to have sex and taking their clothes off, would we regard them as loving and responsible mums and dads, or would we call the Children's Aid Society? Now, taking vulnerable and powerless little children to Pride, however, has become a badge for those who boast how progressive they are, proving that broad-minded often means empty-headed. Now, gay men and women deserve respect and dignity and have the same right to march as any other group. Difficult to see, though, what is dignified about the Pride Parade, and hard to understand why so many people are so reluctant to state the entirely obvious. Thank you.